All right, I apologize for the delay. It is 5:29. We'll go ahead and call our Plan Commission meeting to order. There is a public hearing regarding rezoning for Zero South Central, which is the Beeler property from its current zoning classification to C2 for the purposes of outdoor storage. So, it's a public hearing, and I guess we'd open the floor if anybody has any questions or concerns about that. Yes, ma'am.
Is that the ball fields
No.
property?
How many storage units are going to be on this property? You know, Chance?
I don't.
Is it going
Well,
to be fenced in?
it'll be, it's umbered at,
Yeah, I know.
okay.
How many, is there going to be a fence around it or anything like that?
Well, there will be screening as the
Screening.
demand, you know, we don't anticipate a whole lot of business for quite a while. The whole idea is to offer something extremely affordable to people because the current storage facility here is pretty much full. And checking with, I own a storage facility in southeast Hamilton County, and all the ones around me are at least $90 a month on a U-Haul has partial coverage, and it's $245 to $300 a month. And what we're offering is an affordable alternative, like say for a car, it'd be like 25, small boats, 40, a large RV, maybe 60.
Okay.
Because as time goes on and with growth, you can't tell the future, but like Atlanta might come up with ordinance and say, well, you can't have more than 2 cars in your driveway.
Well, they have a problem with that now when they tell you can't have cars in your driveway with that place all up.
Sure. So we would offer an alternative for people to go to that would be close by and affordable. But also just due to its location, there's Morse Reservoir is pretty far south. Geist is even further. So we're not anticipating, an extreme amount of demand. But as, success would come, hopefully, then there would be more and better screening.
So are you guys, like from where the barn and stuff is to the south, is that what you're talking about building or?
East.
Or
Well, that's just 2 acres.
2 acres of that?
Which has about 60 feet of frontage for a driveway.
Okay.
And then a lot would be naturally screened behind the barn and the outbuilding.
Okay.
So
are we fixing the drainage issue right there too, or? What's going on there?
Floods all the time.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
Yep, that's what it does now, is it floods around, and then actually since they built the new house, stopped all the water from flowing to the drain.
Right.
Right, so it kind of screwed everything up.
yeah,
So-
yeah, because it worked so well. I remember I used to own the property for 20 years.
Yeah, yep.
I bought it from Foster,
Yep.
and it always had a problem to the north side of the house.
Yes.
And, it could freeze and be an ice skating rink and a swimming pool, and, in the middle of the summer, it would normally dry up, but,
Mhm. Well, there was
after the drain was added, it really helped. As long as we keep the corn stalks and everything out of it.
Well, no, the issue is it comes around, since they built the new house,
Right,
it stopped the flow of everything. They cut
right.
5 tiles in that field,
Right.
building that basement, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's something that Andy was supposed to, we approved it all, but
oh, absolutely, yeah,
and so
absolutely.
it's, it can be rectified, but.
The bad part is Hampton County ends up, 19 foot from that drain into their property? My main concern is, where you're building the storage facility, there's a flooding issue there. So we're all paying for it in that vicinity, well, I am, as well as
Oh, I
the
pay.
neighbor and all that stuff and
Yeah.
everything else. So that's my concern, how's
Sure.
this water gonna shed, where we're going with it? Because I know that the new neighbor had to build a whole swell, because he had no idea whatsoever about the flooding issue there.
It definitely did create new pockets of ponding that didn't exist before when the house was built.
Yes, 100%.
And So it's not deep, but what we would use for a surface would be asphalt millings, because they not only don't create dust, but they facilitate drainage. If you use 53s with shaker,
Yeah,
it becomes like concrete.
absolutely.
And then you really have a problem.
Absolutely.
So whatever we would do would not add to the problem. There's a 5-acre parcel between us and the Ball Diamond,
Yes.
and it may be something that could be worked with in conjunction with the person who owns that.
So,
Because there's plenty, I'm not a perk expert
yeah, absolutely.
or whatever, but I don't think anything that we would do would add to the problem.
Because the way it sits right now is all that water comes around, what goes through their old backyard, I guess, right there where the barn is. And then it goes through there, and since they cut the swell in, where the new neighbor is, now it flows. And now what it does, it goes to the drain out there by the road in front of the new house, backs up under my drive and back out into my front yard. So it's created a huge problem for me.
Sure.
Right, so now you're gonna stop more water and push it somewhere else. My main concern is where all this water gonna go? If you're putting storage in here, that's where the water is now. Creates a big flood area
The
now.
water comes from the north and works its way around.
Don't come from the
No,
north,
it
bud. Comes from the south.
Well,
Must know all kinds of been out there.
I've seen that whole area.
before the house was developed, that's why all the water settled there, because it was coming. The Endicott got in a big argument with the guy who owned it, that bought it from Farley. Aaron,
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
okay,
Perry?
okay, and he brought in soil and built it up back where there used to be somewhat of a tree line between that
There's always been a hunt there.
Well,
He cut swell is what he
he
did.
added to it. Endicott got a big argument with him, because Endicott farmed that land for many
Yeah,
years.
I talked to Endicott, yeah,
and
absolutely.
so he thought that was great when they added that to that 3 acres, because what it did was it dammed it up so he could put a crop in that year. Then it got knocked down, and that's when things were dry, and he goes, thank you very much, because they got in a big argument about that, about where is this water coming from? Endicott said, I know, because I have farms. It's coming from around here, it's coming there, and Charlie, I think owned it at the time, argued with him, and, and then Endicott said, well, you just proved my point, because when you added the soil and kept all the stuff on your side, I was able to have a crop for the first time on that side. He planted either way.
He's always
Just
had a
roll
crop
it up.
on that side, am I mistaken on that?
Right.
Well, there's a house there now.
On the front.
Yeah, I
Okay.
live in the house.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and I've known Larry my entire life, lived around here my entire life. And the waters always came from the south, the south,
I mean, you can see the incline, it comes off the other field,
Yeah,
it comes from the south. down.
absolutely. So what stopped the entire project was that house, the new house they built, which I talked to those neighbors there.
Sure.
And now it dams up behind Beeler's old house and right there in the swell where they
Never
moved
had a problem with that until they built that house. And that house was
You guys
too
had a
small.
problem
We
with that.
lived there before that, I do remember
Yeah.
that.
It's always
We did
been
have a whole-
Well, I owned it since 2003, and I know,
The first couple
I
of years
kept
we
in-
lived there, there was water.
Endicott never had a problem with anything. It wasn't enough water that it damaged this crop, other than to the north of the property where that house was built. That was the only place, with the exception of, there was a spot on the corner, it would probably be the southeast corner, that would probably, it was probably maybe 30 by 10. And that was the only other spot on there besides where that house was built that ever retained water. And so when they put in the drain, it was so great I mean, I paid on that for years and years and years, and the increase and on all that. And it was in the field, and occasionally we had port stops and stuff out on
So we had Hamilton County Drainage Department come out and talk to us, well, actually talk to the new neighbor there who bought the property from you folks or whatever. And he gave us a little insight on a lot of things, so I just wanna know what his water's gonna get. That's my main
Well, I don't
concern.
think it's gonna add any water.
Well, the more water that flows
If
or
we
stops, where's it going?
Well, if we have, where our drive is, on just this side of the 5 acre parcel.
Yes,
Okay, if we, you know, obviously there's gotta be a way to get back behind it, we're gonna try to use millings for streams, so if we put asphalt millings in there, they will drain, but they also may also impede some of the water flow from going south.
okay,
And especially.
so it's
if
gonna
they
stop it,
back
maybe
down.
to stop
Yeah,
it
it's the
south, and that-
driveway,
so push it towards the other 5 acres toward the
Yeah.
ball field?
well, if that's what, if that can solve a problem,
So you're gonna push it on
Well,
somebody else?
well, we would have it so we have to have a way to get in and out, and if the end result of that was that it slowed down more water flow, then.
So we're not asphalting this, we're just putting
No.
millings down? Okay.
You're not building any buildings for
No,
inside
no, in
storage?
fact, there won't be any burden as far as, we're not,
You're just parking.
yeah,
That's all
right.
you're doing is parking.
We don't need any improvements from Atlanta, we don't need, you know, any utility.
So there'll be no lights out there for any of it or anything like that?
The only time that I could see there would be a necessity for that is if there was a theft problem, or if there were lights, they could be made in such a way, because you're not legally allowed to have more than so many lumens leave your property anyway. So if you have the right direction lights, that if you go on to the east, then they shouldn't be offensive for anybody. You can probably have something, maybe solar with,
That's an
motion-
online or
with a
something, maybe?
motion sensor.
That's my next concern too, is we're talking about storing stuff here, right? Which is, it sounds like you're doing an amazing job as far as keeping it cheap and everything else. You start storing stuff, there's no lighting, there's no nothing. So now we're creating crime, possibly. I'm not saying there's a lot of crime around here, but I know there's theft, right?
Well,
So that's my next concern. Now we got stuff in there, and then we're bringing people to.
Fire and
Yeah.
bringing boats.
well, I can speak from my own experience. I've had a storage facility and not had a problem, and it's in a very congested, very often Greenfield Avenue.
Yeah.
And that, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because between boats and campers, if they're not being used, I don't think too many people will probably leave that much that would be an attraction to.
We do need
But
to
of course.
come back around to this. This requires, right here for outdoor storage, fencing, not screening, fencing. Is what's required in the documents that you all have reviewed already. And it also, it's a special exception use, so that's a variance.
Right, we would do as the necessity, to fence 2.5 acres right off the get-go would be cost prohibitive for me to try to do anything. $27 a foot for
Sure.
6-foot shadow box or whatever. So, we have some natural screening, and there was debate on whether, you know, personally, I thought C3 would be better, which requires that you have tree screening and not fencing, as I recall.
It's a minimum of 3 acres for C3.
So I think
Right.
that Murray, in one of the previous meetings, you did say that it would be like the C2 zoning with the C3 screening
I would
requirement.
never say anything like that. We go by what the book says.
Okay,
That's not us anyway.
It's,
That's the
yeah,
BZA.
this has already been decided
well, maybe
for
it was
us.
somebody I talked to at the BZA then.
It's possible that, yeah, through the zone, that appeals process with the BZA, that certain exceptions could be made potentially, but
We don't have a problem with putting up fencing if, you know, that's what would be required, to get an affirmative.
Sure. So I've got concerns for drainage and for lighting. Are there any other questions or concerns from anybody present tonight?
When you're exiting out of that field, you exiting right there where your blacktop screenings are now?
Yes.
I mean, how's it gonna affect the long trailer? I mean, what I read, you applied for what, RV, boats, trailers on wheels, et cetera.
Yeah, everything has to be on wheels, it's there.
Okay, but the link coming across, you're gonna get in
Well, it's
somebody
60
else's
feet
property.
wide. It's 60 feet wide, and
So,
you have, the configuration of the land's sort of weird, because the house in the 1 acre goes here, and then a lot of the 2 acres goes behind that. So the drive is large, but you have a huge area to maneuver. We don't anticipate having to pack them in. Like, one of the biggest complaints I hear about storage facilities is people damaging people's property
yeah.
when they're going in and out. So what I do at my place is I have 14 feet wide by 40 feet deep for each space, and I angle park them so that there's, plenty of room between two 14-foot spaces to navigate. And of course, Jacqueline Wheeler, my daughter here, has a lot of room to navigate back there. So, but we don't want people to be upset, and we would have, plenty of room for the proper parking and navigation on the property.
You'd be pulling in rather than backing in. You would never, I wouldn't
Yeah,
expect
yeah.
anybody would. back
On my property, I have a turnaround in the back that's always open, so that my property is only 100 feet wide, but it's 2.5 acres. So we have people come in and then back into a spot, so that way when they're ready to go, all they have to do is pull in and go out, and it's angled to give them the maximum amount of room, which amounts to about 40 to 45 feet.
Well, I think Bill's concern was people backing in, right, and getting
Right,
out.
Yeah.
Somebody,
coming over on the other side.
yeah,
of the road.
but pulling in, I mean, I wouldn't see there'd be a problem of 60 feet wide if you can't hit a 60-foot wide driveway with an RV. I mean, I put mine in the storage up here, and it's only 12 feet wide, so I wouldn't expect that. I mean, backing up, I can see that would be a problem if people had to back in there, but pulling in, I think people could do that relatively easily. I know you could, Bill.
Central, right?
Yes, 635 Central is the house address.
Yeah, I know what the address, but
Okay.
your entrance would be off of Central, right?
Yes, but further to the south.
On the south side of the wall.
And it had been used, yeah, it had been used. My daughter has a variance there that she had a clothing boutique and all that. And as far as I know, that there weren't any complaints that I'm aware of. We've learned a long time ago, it's just better to get along with your neighbors than to try to fight them and tease them. At my place, I put up very tall fencing because it's allowed. I'm C3 commercial with the county, and I had a natural screening on one side with trees, so I put all the taller stuff and the longer RVs over there. And then I have 6-foot shadow box bed. I'm eventually going to increase that to 8 feet, which is the maximum allowed, so that people that do have homes on the other side, right now, they can't see anything, just with the exception of, like on a boat, if they have one of those towers or something like that. But in the future, and it's a pretty low impact type of business as far as, where I'm at, there are so many neighborhoods and the HOAs the way they are. People have to have a place to go, but Noblesville's so stringent on their zoning that the amount of outdoor storage available is very limited, and what is available, people are, in my opinion, gouging, in some of their pricing. And it's a matter of supply and demand, but we're
I wanna know
so
what
far
that-
removed up
Mhm.
here,
Especially about
I don't
the
think we're gonna have a real, situation.
All right, we need to move on from Noblesville back to this property. You have a question?
Yeah, I want to hear some more about the water problem that's back there. That has been exacerbated because of the new house that was put in there.
Yep.
And the water doesn't drain in the front
Well,
properly,
The
or
gentleman who bought the property, just south of me, ended up cutting a swell in to take care of some of that water. That leads it around his property, next to my property, next to my little swell, into the drain out front there.
so it does drain okay.
It does, but it adds a lot of water back on my property, because what water doesn't drain in the drain backs up into my property underneath my driveway and in the front.
Is it a question of having the drain cleaned out, or
Drain's cleaned out.
Yeah, it,
No,
Yeah,
there's-
that's all county.
That's all
drain.
county
Yeah,
drain.
It's all county drain.
Yeah.
County owned, county drain.
is there
all that
county
stuff.
drain that goes in
I
front
don't
of
know
you?
if when the house is built, if any field tiles got cut, but there's nothing that, from an enforcement standpoint that I know of that
Yeah,
would
there was
allow.
five or six tiles.
Yeah, so I don't know,
I
I
don't
mean,
ever looked at it.
to my knowledge, we can't
There's
force
nothing we
somebody to
can
hook those back together. It
Property.
kind of happens a
When
lot.
they built the
Digging
house.
happens out in fields,
Because,
and you just
The
hope
house
people
was
put them back
built.
together.
and there wasn't a way to hook up to the sewer.
So behind the house is where you're talking about, behind the Beeler's property is
Yeah, it comes in
part of-
behind there by the pool and then to there. That's my main concern. Where's this water gonna go? Because when it rains, it does flood back there. I mean,
it floods
got
the whole
the
back.
test.
and all
Yeah.
down.
he lives across the street, so.
yeah. I
And my next concern is, we're just gonna be putting chip and seal on this parking lot, correct? Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Asphalt millings.
Asphalt millings. So all these vehicles sit back that are leaking oil possibly and things like that, just going into the ground, so they can contain it. So you're saying possibly that lane could actually be contaminated with oil and leaking things like that, is that right?
I've been doing this for over 20 years and I've not had any problems from boats or RVs, but usually people who spend that kind of money don't have leaky stuff. Not saying it's not possible,
Absolutely.
but we're not interested in, old junk.
well, it wouldn't be any different than the one up here by BP.
I don't know,
mean,
I don't know what he's running, I'm not sure. It's not sure. I don't know.
Great.
It's gonna be nothing with leaking oil, fuel, things like that.
Well, I mean, you would have the same situation up here because it's an outdoor
Absolutely.
gravel thing.
Yeah,
You could
absolutely.
have the same thing.
Yes.
So what, even if nothing happens, is there a remedy to that problem, or
Yeah, I think that's a problem for a different
that's a
meeting.
different
Yeah.
problem?
And that's
Okay.
probably something that needs to go to the county as far as addressing storm
Okay.
issues down there along there. I mean, that's their area, that's their jurisdiction.
Okay.
There's county drain there at that Jackson Central intersection. Just how do you get the water there?
The permit on that too, right? It does have to have a fence around, it, right? Is that what you-
Correct.
what you say?
That's-
Not
that's
not
what-
by
that's what
our
these-
standards, by the BZA. It has to be a special.
It's the zoning classification for C2. It's a special exception use for outdoor storage and it requires a fence, and a special exemption use on its own dictates that it has to go to the BZA for that
Yes.
approval. So, do any of you on the plan commission here have any thoughts, questions, concerns?
I have a concern of, let's say, 2 years down the road. I mean, it's not really a concern because it's not my property, but 2 years down the road, if you don't park anything there anymore, are you just gonna leave the millings there, or is that something that would be
Well,
removed?
we've already
or-
put down enough millings to suit whatever the demand was.
Okay,
So we're not gonna just like blanket coat 2 acres.
2 acres of-
with
okay,
millings.
okay, fair enough. That's all.
Anybody ready to take action on this?
I have a question first. So if we do the rezone for C2, but without, because I still have to go through the BZA.
Mhm.
Is the approval tonight just for the C2?
Correct.
Or, okay, and then we'll decide for if I want to do the special exception for the BZA.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are 5 kids live right next door to that property, don't you think it should be fenced in though? Like you wouldn't want them to be in there or vice versa, right? Like you wouldn't want those kids to be on your property or.
I don't know that the BZA can say you could do it without a fence. I'm not sure. But either way, they would have to go to them for approval. So that's an additional layer here. None of us on the council who are on this plan commission board have anything to do with that. You're on the BZA as well, right? So, Mrs. Teal is a crossover member. She's a member of both boards. But wanna take
Yeah,
any
brought
action?
up a lot of good points, so,
Well, just the safety for both sides, right?
right.
For the kids and for them too, vice versa. So,
I feel much better about it, having a fence around it.
I'm just-
I strongly
Safety.
believe in fences. Mine's fenced just to deter kids from wanting to explore, to have screening.
I wouldn't put mine there if it wasn't fenced in. I mean,
Sure, right. I mean, yeah, it only makes sense.
Neil, you had something?
I'm just wondering how you can have that big a area without a light though.
There's standards for lights. I don't know if it's a requirement or not, but if there are lights there, I mean, there's standards for it, for
Okay.
how the light, what type of light and how bright and how it points and things like that. So,
I would imagine 95% or better of the people would only go there in daylight hours. You have to get your camper. Boats, many times, they just leave the trailer and, get their boat, but they still have a spot for their trailer. So they're not so big that they're creating any.
There's something in there that says they need to be licensed vehicles.
no, but the county's gonna do what they're gonna do. Unless they come into the town, but it's requirements, but it's a state law.
Oh, and stuff on that, yeah. So
What are we doing? Somebody have a recommendation to approve this or deny it, or do you want to table it for a future meeting?
You've heard a lot of good viewpoints. I don't have a problem with moving forward with it.
I don't, I have a somewhat of concern about the water, but I don't think that's our problem to fix right now. I think we should move forward. Do you need a motion? Or do we need to discuss?
Somebody can make a motion, yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Alright. We've got another one here, which is to rezone the, town's property, the baseball facility, to C2 as well. And that's at the request of the people that, have made an offer on the property, and, we are scheduled to close on this property tomorrow, and they would like this to be C2 for the purposes of, it's a construction company, concrete company, so storing some equipment there, maybe having an office there. So we have applied to the Plan Commission to rezone this property. Any questions about this
Is it an
rezoning?
office, or what's it consist of? I mean, are they gonna be manufacturing something?
No manufacturing. If you'd like to explain what your setup is,
No,
that'd
it's
be fine.
just gonna be a place for us to store our equipment. And I'm gonna put up probably 4 or 5 buildings, just like the boat place across the street. Just a place to store our equipment, and maybe down the road, maybe I would rent out, one of the other 2 buildings. We just come in the morning, get in our trucks, go to our job sites, come back in the evening. We don't sell anything, we don't make concrete or anything there. We don't store gravel there or anything at all like that.
Cement trucks?
I'm sorry?
Cement
No concrete trucks.
Okay.
We have tri-axle dump trucks,
Okay.
no concrete trucks or anything like that.
And for the most part, everything's stored indoors.
The larger trucks will be kept outside, and like our forms and stuff, we do the basements, they're in big baskets and stuff, we use a crane and stuff to lift those, that'll be kept outside also. But I got no problem doing a fence and all that, and I would keep that equipment behind the barn, just so visually everything looks nice and all that stuff.
Do you plan on having lights?
Yes. Yeah, I'll
Retaining
have
the
like
lights
dust to
too.
dawn lights. I'll put them on the east side of the building. That way they would shine at, to the back.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I make a motion, we approve the zoning change.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's what we have on the agenda for the plan commission meeting. I appreciate everybody's patience. I apologize for the late start,
I do apologize
but
for that.
we are bumping right up against 6 o'clock. So is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for your favor.
Thank you, Neela. Yep.